you find what makes you special.
Yeah.
You know, and you learn to recognize what makes other people special. And being able to acknowledge that, I think, is a really important part of working with other people as well.
Yeah. I love that so much. You're going to make me cry. That's so beautiful. Wow. What makes them special and what makes you special?
Yeah.
And then like lift each other up, right? And collaborate in a way where both of your specialties, or all of your, if you're collaborating with more than just one person, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody can give their best to the project. I think that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Hey Voxstar, and welcome to From Singer to Artist. I'm Lara Chapman, award-winning singer and songwriter turned viral vocal coach and the host of this show. At VoxTape Studios, we help singers from all over the world level up their voices by teaching them the 3 fundamental skills all singers need: technique, awareness, and artistry. Whether you're looking to go pro or just develop your voice for fun, my team and I are here to help. Check the link in the description to book your first session or grab some of our other resources. Alrighty, are you ready? Let's get started. We are back in New York City with 2 special guests today. We have Coach Emily from our team here with us. And, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to introduce you, Spencer Lynn, because you've done so many things.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Thank you for being here. You have done singing, you have done acting, you have done shows, and you are also a writer too.
Yes.
So you have like a big background in the theater world.
Yeah,
mostly,
and
right?
definitely theater world, film world as well as of
Okay.
more recently. And I just love getting my hands in wherever people need help with projects or, you know, whatever is needed to be done. So I've kind of done it all.
I love that. Well, thank you for being here, first of all.
Thank you for
and
having
sharing,
me.
Of course, for sharing, you know, like your story and all the things that you have done. And I'm so excited to dig into it.
Yeah.
But before we do, you 2 went to college together.
Yeah.
Shenandoah.
It's a great day to be a Hornet.
It is.
Was our
That's what the people say.
motto.
Our motto. It was an awesome time to be in Virginia.
It was a great time to be in. 2018 to 2022 was a great time to be in Virginia. And yes.
Yeah, so we went to college together.
Yeah.
And we are ridiculous.
Yes.
You know, I think this
And that's
episode is very much
why-
going to be me observing you.
Us giggling
Convincing
like
about-
crazy people.
just us, you know.
I love it.
Listen, you
it.
survive a BFA program togetger for 4 years, and there's a certain bond
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
that can never go away,
Yeah.
and that, you know.
100%. 100%. What made you want to get into musical theater in the first place, or theater in general?
Yeah, it's, you know, so my grandparents actually met as radio singers
Oh.
back in
So
the
cool.
back in the heyday, kind of around World War II, that whole time.
Wow.
So theater was always a big thing that we talked about as a family. And we moved to San Diego when I was like 9 years old.
Okay.
And there was this flyer to do a musical called Seussical the Musical.
Awesome.
And I just kind of wanted to do it. And that was, you know, I was 9 years old and I haven't stopped since then for more than probably 3 months at a time.
Yeah.
And it was kind of just a whim. I didn't want to go the first day. I was playing Lego Batman on the Wii because I had forgotten that I signed up, and my mom was like,
Let's go.
"You're doing it. We
You
paid
made
the
a
fee for at
commitment."
least this one day.
Yes.
Let's get you over there." And then, yeah, it was just, you know, I think hanging out with artists is such a special energy and a special tingling in the air that you, once you taste it, you kind of know whether it's for you or not. And it was very much for me very, very quickly.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I remember that when my first day of school at the New York Film Academy after high school, that was my first experience being around performers and, you know, like just like a bunch of performers in the same room. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah.
What is happening? It's very different energy. You
It's
know?
a different energy. And I think for a lot of people, it's, you know, the first time of feeling reciprocal energy.
Uh-huh.
You know, because I think a lot of times younger artists in any medium, you know, find themselves in a choir, an orchestra, in a theater camp, and are like, oh, oh,
there's other people like me.
Yeah, I'm not as weird as I thought I was.
Yes,
and these people think I'm cool.
Yeah, and wait, here, I'm sick as heck.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
For me, it was like so new. And I'm not the typical, because I would never consider myself an actor.
Sure.
I was always a singer.
Okay.
And so I was more like, keeping to myself, and there was just so much loud.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry about that.
No.
Top
not
3
that.
descriptors.
I am also a very loud voice, but like when there's like, just like when you feed off of each other's energy, and it just becomes more and more and more and more and more. And I was like, I'm going to go home now for my lunch break, and I will be back later because I need a minute to myself.
Yeah.
Well, and I still have that where like, now I work in theater and do theater all the time. And it's like, I still am like, okay, downtime is needed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it is just for me in particular, it's such a draining energy because I love it so much. I want to give it my all whenever I'm there. So it'll be like a 2-hour music rehearsal where I'm teaching somebody a song or something.
Yeah.
And by the end, I'm just like, I'm
dead.
exhausted.
Yeah.
Which is like funny. I was like, playing keys for a few hours going like, these are the notes.
Yeah, but you're just so focused, right?
You're so focused, and there's so much joy. Like the fact that it's happening is so insane that you're also just kind of like,
yes. I love
and then
that.
are, drained and dead by the end of it.
Yeah, I feel like we're all like teaching and just working in theater in general. We're in the industry of being very present, paying a lot of attention, taking mental notes. Like our brains are going so crazy the whole time that I find for myself, especially we were talking about like lessons later in the evening when you have like long days. I got to bring that theater energy into my, last night I taught a lesson from 8 to 9 after a huge string, and I was like, all right, hey, how's the day going? You have to really bring it. Because that energy, as much as like, I agree, it can be when you come home from that rehearsal, you're like, I need to go to sleep right now. It's really cool to have that to tap into when you need energy, and you have this direct line of I know how to get there.
For sure. For sure. I get so much energy when I teach.
Yeah.
I have no problem teaching 7 hours in a row.
Yeah.
But after the 7 hour, I'm
it hits you like a brick.
When you hit that wall.
It does. Yeah. So usually when because I only do first lessons with students, and then I place them with Emily or somebody else.
Oh, cool.
And so it's always you're meeting somebody for the first time, you want to make a good impression and all that.
Yeah.
And they're usually when they learn that they're person number 7 that day, and they're like, oh, are you not super tired? I'm like, no. This is giving me so much energy.
Yeah.
If there's something coming from the student too.
That's very real.
Sometimes you have somebody in front of you where there's not a lot of feedback, right? And they're very quiet, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different personality. So you have to create your own energy even more.
Yes.
Right? But I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
It's cool.
Yes.
It's cool having a job that works with it's always collaborative.
Yeah.
Because you're getting something from them, and then they're getting something from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that differentiates a lot of times, people who are working with vocal studios and vocal companies, and theater is such a collaborative art form, is what separates those forms from, say, the novelist or the basement producer who kind of works in their own world. And I think, make awesome stuff, but it is this, you sometimes miss out on that feeling of back and forth with a person.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Collaboration is when the best stuff happens.
Absolutely.
I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you went to Shenandoah.
I did.
And you did the 4-year program. It was 4 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any particular reason why you wanted to study it instead of just moving to New York and just do it? Or
yeah, I mean, it was never a conversation of if I go to college, what will my major be?
Yeah.
It was sort of, I'm not good at anything else.
Can relate.
So it was just, I was just kind of my parents, and I was very, very fortunate to have very supportive parents. But I just liked the idea of, again, being around other artists more and creating a system of people that I could carry with me into that next stage of life. Because again, no artist is a one-person island.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of going from high school to New York kind of not knowing anybody, I was like, well, where's the fun in that versus this opportunity to, of course, grow my artistic skills and all the things that are well and good about going to performing arts schools, but just also getting to like meet people and see what other people are doing
100%.
that I can't do, and that, know, because I think that also helps you realize what you can do that others can't, and not in like a negative way, you know what I mean, of like being better than anyone else. But I think if you only see yourself working, or you only go see, Broadway shows, listen to cast albums, all those types of things, you're like, well, shoot, what do I have? When you can see you and your classmates growing when you're at a kind of more educational institution. And you find what makes you special. And you learn to recognize what makes other people special. And being able to acknowledge that, I think, is a really important part of working with other people as well.
I love that so much. You're gonna make me cry. That's so beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
What makes them special and what makes you special? And then like lift each other up, right? And collaborate in a way where both of your specialties, or all of your, if you're collaborating with more than just one person, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody can give their best to the project. I think that's so wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just finished graduate school at NYU for musical theater writing.
Yes.
There you go.
And that whole program is based off that. Like, you come in with an emphasis of either composing or script writing and lyric writing. It's a 2-year program. The whole first year is just speed dating, where every week you write something with a different person in your year.
Wow.
And test it out. And then the second year is write a musical, basically.
Yeah.
But it's about that, you in a program such as that, you also have to be able to go in and be able to recognize this is what this person does really well.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's less about what can we create that does what I do really well and does what Emily does really well. But what's something we can create that this new artist does really well?
Yeah.
Because you kind of become a new person in a lot of ways. Because I think if you try to shoehorn your special skills from each individual into one thing, it can be awkward and clunky.
Yeah.
But, whatever you're doing in a artistic setting, I think it is about whatever your team of collaborators are. Who is that new singular artistic mind?
Yeah.
And what do they do really well that you couldn't do as an individual? Because I'm sure it's many, many things.
So this is totally, like, it is related, I promise, but the music is totally different. There's this, like, those 2 SoundCloud rappers that have, like, come together and make music together. It's like Young Gravy and Baby No Money. It's like Baby Gravy. There you go. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Gonna look at Cam, do a little point.
And like the 2 of them together just vibe so, like, the music's hilarious. Like, it is so fun. Coach Bree and I, every time we travel together, we're like just blasting Baby Gravy.
Baby Gravy.
Yeah.
in the car. Anyways, that just collaboration is kind of like, it's not in musical theater. It's SoundCloud rappers.
It's everywhere.
Like
it is.
It's amazing. It's amazing what they created. Like the third separate thing, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's even, you look at, singers working with producers and songwriters, and it's all that stuff. I think you find it everywhere. For me, theater is where I've had most of my artistic energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think it's, that's a universal truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you graduated from Shenandoah in 22.
Yes.
22. And then you moved to New York after that directly, or what did you do?
I did a summer kind of doing a learning program at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center, which is a developmental musical theater house in Waterford, Connecticut.
Oh.
So I was there for a summer, and then moved to New York and started doing concerts of my music.
Yeah.
Pretty much a week later.
So were you already writing at that point?
I was. So that came. So I was like actor boy from 9 years old to like 21, basically.
Yeah.
And then I had always sort of played a little guitar and mandolin, like frets and strings made sense to my brain.
Cool.
And then during the pandemic, I was really bored, as I think a lot of us were, and just started, writing music. And because theater is always what I've done, it immediately filtered through that kind of theatrical lens of that. And basically then I was trying to complete college with doing as little work for my major as possible, because I started writing and I was like, oh,
this is it.
Hold on. Like, this is, because I think as for a lot of people, you find your way into what you do in a particular way. Yeah. And I think for theater, and particularly musical theater, that is as an actor.
Yeah.
And, or with a singer in a choir, band, orchestra, all these things, there's kind of that one in.
Yeah.
And then over time, the more you live in that world, the more you go, oh, there's other things I can do within this industry that maybe serve myself and allow me to serve the art form better than that one thing I was able to do at 9 years old, because they weren't asking for commissioned musicals from 9-year-olds at the time.
Yeah.
But so and then it was basically from 21 to today. It was a pretty quick, like, oh,
this is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But you still performed.
I had to get my degree. The degree was the degree was a requirement. Emily was there for this era. A little bit, yeah. Like I'll always sing something at like a concert that I do. And I think it's important when I'm either writing music and lyrics by myself or working with a composer who's creating the melodies or whatever for the lyrics, like learning that and singing that too. But it was, so it was kind of a slow trickle out of the performing.
Okay.
As I was graduating, doing all the showcases and things that you do.
Yes.
And then sort of by the time I graduated, I kind of just came to terms with like, oh, performing is not as fulfilling artistically and personally as it once was. And, I think that was exacerbated by finding this other thing that I was kind of being fulfilled in a way that I didn't think was possible, because I kind of thought singing and acting was the thing. And then I was like, oh, there's like 15 more gallons in this bucket that we could have been filling up.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you talk about that journey too, because a similar thing happened to me, whereas I was performing, not theater, but, pop stuff.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. But then when I started teaching, other people had to sing. That's like, oh, this is more fun than performing. And I always thought I wanted to be a performer.
And it's a scary moment.
It is a very scary moment. It took me a good year to year and a half of like whole like identity crisis, essentially. Like, oh my God, like, no, like if I switch, people are going to think I'm a failure. Like I switched because, I couldn't make it or whatever. What are other people going to think? Also with my parents, they paid for my college and I was like, I don't want to let them down and blah, blah, blah. And they didn't care what I did. Yeah. They just wanted me to be happy.
Yeah.
I also had very supportive parents.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
They're wonderful.
Amazing.
And so, it's a whole like, oh my God. Yeah. And then COVID hit and I was like, well, now I can't perform.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pour a little bit more into teaching.
Yeah.
And that's how VoxTape became a thing. Before it was just Laura Chapman music.
Yeah.
And now it's VoxTape, which it fills my cup so much more than being on stage and performing.
And it is, and it's hard too, because those are kind of like I said, those are things you don't get to know until later on in life.
Yes.
Because they're not asking for, children voice teachers. And it's a scary thing, because, I had been performing since I was 9. And there was this idea of like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And kind of having that sort of artistic crisis at the same time we were graduating. So a lot of people in our class were kind of very focused on showcases and agents and what, show they were going to do immediately after school and all those things. And I was kind of in the corner like, I wrote this song. You guys won't hear it. And so it was an interesting couple year basically for me. Senior year was a very interesting moment of that, because also just trying to losing that part of my artistry as a performer. I say losing, I gave it up, but that's the word I'm using in the moment.
Yeah.
And kind of trying to find where else I land was a tricky thing, because then I was like, oh man, am I destined to write sad boy acoustic guitar pop songs? Like, is that what it is? Is it this? Is it that? Is it, I started, doing all the things and I'm very happy with where I ended up.
That's wonderful. It's just so funny, like when you're 16, you're like, I know what I want and what's right for me and blah, 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 blah. And then 5 years later, it's like, Nope.
Yeah.
You evolve as a person, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so you did your degree at Shenandoah, then you did your summer program in Connecticut.
Yes.
Then you moved to New York and you did some, not showcases, but like, I think you said cabarets.
Yeah, cabarets, basically. There's this thing that's really popular in the musical theater world to do these concerts of music at venues. And you just kind of, they can be whatever you want. So for me, they were these concerts of a bunch of songs that I had written.
Cool. I didn't know that you could do that with cabarets too.
Oh, yeah. You can kind of do, I mean, if I'm incorrect, people who run the beautiful cabarets of New York, don't yell at me. But I think
but you did it. So.
I did that, and I had seen a lot of people doing that. It was kind of started in like the 2010s era of musical theater writing with guys like Drew Gasparini, Ryan Scott Oliver, and that whole world. And by the time I came to New York, I had written a draft of one full musical that we did at Shenandoah my senior year. And then another like 3/4 draft of another musical I started in Connecticut. Wow. So I had songs, and I had a bunch of friends who I went to college with who sing really well. So I was just like, hey, want to play some tunes? And did that basically the whole year between, and then went to NYU. Yeah.
Okay, so what made you want to go to NYU and go to school again?
Yeah. So while I was in Connecticut, I met this person named Donna Dinavelli, who's a teacher at my program and is primarily a filmmaker randomly, but teaches in the NYU musical theater writing program. And she was the one who basically had seen things that I was writing and was like, I think you should come to this program. And because it was about collaboration, and it was about being an artist who wants to create together and is not a one-person sailboat. And so basically she was like, you should come to this program. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Wanted to follow. It's been about following that writing heat as it's been there, because it's all kind of been rather recent in the large scale of my life. Yeah. So I was just so flattered that someone was like, no, you should come to this program. And, she wrote my letter of rec for me, basically to herself.
Yeah.
And then, so that was that. And that was 2 years that finished as of 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so exciting, graduating. Was it a master's degree?
It was a master's in fine arts.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
The MFA.
Yeah, you ever heard of
the MFA? I have an MM, so...
Oh, a master of music.
Yep.
See, I couldn't tell you what the difference is between any of them. I don't even know what my degree is. Some sort of bachelor, but I couldn't tell you what kind.
It's all made up. It's all made up words.
Yeah, that's all.
All human language are grunts people made up.
Thousands
of years
made
ago.
Up. I love that.
Absolutely. That's a whole teaching thing.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Of like vowel sounds and things like that.
A little bit. It's what's the word?
Primal sounds.
Yeah, primal sounds. Primal sounds. Maddie Tarbox talks about it all the time. We love it. We love primal sounds. Sounds that we've been making for thousands of years that show up in singing.
Oh, is that like the cry thing?
Kind of. More like it really easily relates to belting and like calling
like a
sounds.
Hey.
Oh,
like,
yes.
If you were outside, it'd be like, hey, come in here.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Yeah.
Following.
Primal sounds.
Gotta love them.
Yeah.
Big fan.
That'll be our new podcast solely on primal sounds. Debuting next week.
Oh my god! Imagine, I wouldn't even know what to talk about. Just like,
primal
hey,
sounds,
grunting grunting in a mic for hours.
Yeah. ASMR communities will love it.
Oh my god, I love that. That's hilarious. So writing.
Yes.
You said at NYU you had like a focus, like either composition or
words,
lyric?
Basically. So like the script and the words and that was primarily for first year.
Okay.
And then the second year, once you were kind of put into teams to write musicals, you could do whatever you want. So I was asked to do 2 theses.
Okay.
So I wrote 2 musicals, and for both of those, it was like I'll write some music or melody work here, and we'll do this and that, and it was a lot less structured.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. And so you've written full-on like musicals now, which
is
so cool.
I've technically now written 3 full drafts of musicals.
So what's next for these musicals?
basically, it's been a few weeks of recovering my brain.
Yep. Yeah, I don't blame you.
Post-graduation, and then it's my collaborators and I are going to do another concert of music in New York in September. So that'll be fun, and it's, I think now it's taking time to look at the pieces separate of NYU. Because when you're in grad school writing these things, you're bringing in work every week and showing them to faculty or your peers, and you get a lot of noise in your head.
Yes.
So I think taking the time to really sit there and look at what was created in those 9 months, be very proud of it, but also go, how much of this is what we want to do and how much of it is what feedback we were getting from 80 bajillion voices throughout the year in an educational setting where it's harder to be like, no. And then, hopefully get to show them to people down the line. But definitely more concerts as well for me. Like, I love working with all my singer friends and teaching singers music and crafting it with them and all that kind of stuff. So wherever the wind takes me, really. I have a short film in pre-production that films in August.
So when you say you have a short film, you wrote it?
I wrote it and I'm directing it, yeah.
Okay. Film is a whole different beast, though.
That's a whole different. That's on our film podcast for VoxTape Studios, premiering next week.
Give me 2 weeks. First, we got to do the Primal Sounds one.
Premiering in 2 weeks.
Okay, so is there going to be like a doctor in film for you in the future? There,
I'm so done with school. I'm so done.
I was done after my bachelor. I don't know how you went back for a master's. Like, ugh. I love learning, don't get me wrong, but I also don't like school.
Yeah,
like
it's different.
The system
school
is like
hard, and especially like schools for artistic things. Like I'm very happy with the choices I made of undergrad and grad school, but they're also like, shout out Shenandoah and NYU, they're also kind of stupid because it's like subjective.
Yes,
it is.
So it's basically like going and being like, I'm Emily Tallman and I'm starting my first day at Shenandoah. I hope they like my voice.
Yeah.
And and it's I think it's interesting the way, especially educational institutions that are built out of universities and those types of things, because there's different quotas they have to meet. Like, I think in a lot of ways the much more beneficial route could be the things like VoxTape and all those kind of things that kind of have less.
Oh, well, thank you. It's almost like I paid you to say that, but I swear I didn't.
She didn't. And those things that have less of an agenda, I'd say, because it isn't
completely,
about.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just a different environment.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm so excited for a Mexico retreat.
Yes, I keep hearing about this Mexico retreat.
Oh, yes, it's just like learning together, like collaborate together, but doing it in a not learning environment, like not in a school building, but rather on the beach. In my favorite place of the world.
You have to have fun to do these things.
Exactly.
That's the point.
That's the point. Like, that's something I've said so much. Like, I think even during undergrad, I would have moments that, in hindsight, I probably could have been a bit more empathetic to situations, but people would be really worked up about the stress of auditions and classes and all the. Never Emily Tallman.
No, are you kidding?
So laid back and so chill.
Relaxed.
and I think I would just be like, we're playing dress up as well at the end of, or like we're singing songs.
Yeah.
It's about having fun.
Like,
it's not brain surgery.
No,
it's not.
And you're not gonna and you're not gonna do well if you're looking at it like brain surgery.
Yeah.
Because I mean, talk about adding body tension, dear.
Oh yeah.
Dear whatever. It's,
it's a
mental tension translates into physical tension.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And it's just like,
absolutely.
Gotta shake that stuff out.
Yeah. Shake it loose.
Yes.
Shake your ass.
And that's what they teach you. And my BFA and MM went for that moment.
It all worked up to this. What I learned in grad school is
shake your ass.
But I think that goes to like when you mentioned like you feel like you picked good places, because you're so right. It's art. It's going to be subjective, and I feel very fortunate that we went to an undergrad where they were like, by the way, it's subjective. It wasn't just like, this is how you do it, and that's right. And there was structure without rigidity, Especially when I can be. I can love structure, and I mean, I love education. I love educational institutions. So
Emily was basically like the mom of our whole class.
I can totally see that.
We all had like calendars. I would text her daily what classes we had that day. I was like, what's happening?
I would totally gravitate towards somebody like Emily because I would never know where to go. Yeah. I actually still have nightmares about that.
Really?
Every so often where I'm like, I'm at a school somewhere, it's the first week and I don't know where to go. Like, I don't know where my next class is. I dream about that frequently, so I need someone like an Emily in my life too.
I would text our class group chat when I would finish the music theory homework and be like, anyone need any help? Like a crazy person.
I love it.
Yeah, didn't you need to sleep or have a life?
Not that year. That year I was like, I don't know what was in the sophomore year energy. I think it's because freshman year of an undergrad musical theater program is like a very long summer camp. Like you're having fun. You're doing all these like intro classes. Yeah. So it's like you get your first voice. We had this. Oh, and Sam as well. We all had the same first voice teacher.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We did.
Giovanna, we love you.
Shout out. And yeah, it's a lot of like, what does it mean to sing?
Yeah.
And then everyone just kind of sits there and it's like,
yeah, like that's awesome. And then the second year is like, well, this is what it means, and also this is what singing looks like on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, I was like, I gotta lock in and be very focused on this. And then junior year is like, it's about to get stressful, but not yet. And then senior year is like, yes, oh my God.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
I think it's...
If you're me and handle things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me say.
And, I think it's there's a lot of pressure nowadays, especially in the musical theater actor world, absolutely, of like, I gotta, post that I'm in this show or, have this experience or that I booked an agent or that I did all these. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
To be really involved and to be really grateful for it as well. So I think that there's just a lot of stress can come from that side of it versus the like growing and learning, adulting for the first time like a college can do. And it's, it's hard too because people come in at a bunch of different levels of like, I had never really had a voice lesson going into undergrad.
Really? Wow.
I had very few, and we never worked on technique.
Wowzers. Yeah, so I don't know how you could do that. Hey. I never would have gotten into any singing school without any voice training before, because I had a very small range before voice lessons.
Really?
I didn't know head voice existed. I didn't know that was a thing, so I would just like...
It could still be a myth. We don't know.
It could still be a myth.
Has it been confirmed?
There you go. Fair enough.
Not looking at you.
Well, it is. And
no, it's true.
I think musical theater especially has such a unique requirement of the voice.
Yes.
That it was just kind of crazy to be in that school where like people, again, what people do that makes them special and what you do that makes you special. And like, this girl's been able to sing anything under the sun probably since she was like 10 years old. And I was like, I can do like funny stuff with my hands. And it was, so it is. It's an interesting art form. It's all these different things and it's silly and goofy.
And it's good to remind ourselves of that, like you said before, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, at the end of the day, we're doing this because it's fun.
Yeah.
And if you don't enjoy it anymore, maybe
you don't have to.
Maybe your heart has moved on to something else.
Yeah. Maybe your heart has moved on, or there's also that thing of like, I think the moment that your artistry also becomes your job is an interesting transitional period.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a testing ground because it's also totally okay if it isn't your job. Not having anything to do with talent or skill, but if you hate it when it's your job.
Yes.
Then it's like, cool, do something else then. And then do your artistry in the side and go to voice lessons and
100%.
all those things. And
when something becomes a job, the energy changes because now you put all this pressure on it. Right?
Yes.
You're like, I gotta make money.
Yeah. And I kind of love that part of it too because it's like an added puzzle piece.
Yeah.
To like, how do I have fun while I do this and not starve to death?
Yes.
But for others, it's the buzzkill, and I think letting it be the buzzkill, and finding new things in life if that's what's needed.
Yeah. Totally. So I want to talk a little bit more, if that's cool with you, about how like your singing and your acting, like coming from a performer perspective first, how that like influenced your writing for musicals.
I mean, incredibly so. I think it again, those things that quote unquote, make us special. I think that's one of my things I will hope to never lose as a writer, is that stuff I've learned. Because like, I'm reminded of a Stephen Schwartz quote, who wrote Wicked. And he said in this interview one time, musical theater should be fun to sing. It should be fun to play and all these kinds of things.
And he wrote Wicked.
And he did write Wicked, yeah.
But it's not fun to sing. It's hard to sing. It is so hard to sing.
When he's singing it down the octave, it's really fun to sing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's then really joyful,
when
actually.
When he plays into and then alphabet goes up here.
It's really joyful.
Could you torture us anymore? Thank you very much. No, obviously, very fun. Like, it's wailing, right? Like, that is so fun. But it's very hard to sing.
Oh, for sure.
Anyway,
sorry.
So
that's something, too, where, like, whenever I'm writing music and melodies and things like that, that's kind of the first check mark, is like, is it fun for me? And it's also like, because I sang for so many years and going to school, I've worked with so many singers and gotten to see so many different voices. I can write something and be like, okay, if this is gonna, live on that E for this female voice, what is that? Like, it's not gonna be like that whole time, because people should live instead of die singing it. And you see that in some new musical material of people who have not had that experience working with the human voice or singing with the human voice, because you'll see these things that are just, it makes me highly aware of like what I'm asking people to do.
Yeah.
And what I'm asking people to do that is hard, that requires a unique voice, that requires rest, all those kinds of things, where it's, because especially I feel like something we see a lot is like, for a lot of young men in musical theater, the falsetto or head voice is becoming much more common. And so like when you're doing that, you have to go, okay, who do I know who has that? Because some people do and some people don't. And it doesn't matter either way if you do or don't in the grand scheme of life. But for this specific song, it does. So I'll go with that person.
Yes.
And so it's a big, if it isn't fun for me to sing, and I'll sometimes change the key so it fits right in my voice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if this isn't fun for me to sing and doesn't feel right to sing, I'll go back and we have to start over.
Okay.
Because there's nothing worse than giving like a singer a new song and it's like, you can tell they're having a really bad time.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, okay, that was on me. That's never really on the singer, I feel. I think musical theater should have a certain amount of intuition to it.
Yeah.
Even if it's really complicated technically.
Yeah.
When it's all happening at once. Even a lot of like Sondheim stuff, is complicated and hard technically, but like once it's really like in your bones and it makes sense and you really live with it for a second, it comes very naturally.
Yeah. I've taught I brought this to a lot of students. Company, pardon me, is everybody there? Because everybody's there.
Yeah, not getting married today.
Yeah, not getting married today. And, we go over those chromatics. And then once it's learned, I'm like, guess what? Say that sentence. Pardon me, is everybody there? Because if everybody's there, that's literally the pattern. It mimics the pattern
and
of
you
speech.
did it.
And that's exactly what he's going for. So yes, it's like, it's chromatics and it's weird and it's funky and the accompaniment feels strange, but it's really just speech, you know? And I think that will bring such a human element, like the intuition brings such a human element to it that people are craving. I won't even get into like AI right now, but but people are really craving humanity. At least I am. So
I think a lot of people are.
No, I think a lot of people are. And I think that's where a lot of music, my area of expertise is musical theater, so I can speak more to that. But I think that's where a lot of music in general is kind of succeeding or failing. I think we're in a moment of people really wanting that, something that feels really human and feels very real. Yeah, I have a hypothesis that we're moving away from some of the world of like glitz and glam. In a lot of things, whether that be studio production work or theater, whatever. And kind of having an audience yearning for something a little more pulled back and a little more...
Yeah. I think right now we're at the peak of it. We're at the peak of the glitz and glam.
Yeah, probably.
At least, I'll say like Broadway in particular.
Yes.
We're at the peak. I won't say theater everywhere. We're at the peak of it, but I agree. Like we're going to, at some point in the next couple of years, I think we're going to start heading down that slope.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at musical theater, especially on the Broadway scene of like singing in general, has also become very different.
The past like 10 years.
It's something we talked a lot about in school. Of like, these shows are hard to sing, and it's and there's a lot of a lot of material that, you know, I feel as though, and again, I'm not a vocal teacher, so you guys would probably be able to inform me better. I find it incredibly interesting.
I love telling people facts. So.
Or just things of like, there's a lot of scores that are written across the board that voices can either kind of do or cannot, and there's like rooms to grow and get closer. But on a base level, it's like, you either can sing in this way that this show requires, or you cannot.
I think that there is some truth to that, and I'll add the adverb of comfortably.
Oh, for sure.
Because there are
sustainably.
And sustainably, because there are a lot of people who are like, they're getting there, they're getting up there, and they can technically do it.
But can they do it 8 shows a week?
Can they do it 8 shows a week? And where does your voice live? Like, that's where the voice types conversation kind of comes in. Like, even my speaking voice right now, my speaking voice is up here. So like, we can tell that I sing higher things and soprano things, which means that I'm not going to be called in for things that are like.
Which is why I could never do alpha, but you can.
But you can do so many other things that I can't, because there's that whole octave. That's not, my octaves go up, and other people's octaves go down. Your octaves go down, and that's like awesome.
And that even is the thing too, because you're talking about comfortability of like, I feel as though I see a lot in the like TikTok, Instagram Reel, YouTube singing scene in general, but particularly as it pertains to musical theater. Things that just don't look or sound comfortable.
Yeah.
And it makes me very nervous for people, and I don't know what's happening in their throats, and I can't give them any sort of advice. But it's just, you know,
it's not fun.
I will be very curious to see when perhaps the tide of musical theater writing shifts away from that. And I think there will always be a place for that as well. And I say this as someone who's written, you know, B naturals for some tenor voices and E's for some beltress voices. We've all done it. We're all guilty of it. It's okay. But being cognizant of that. And again, if you're writing something, I'll just keep using the B natural above the scale for a tenor voice. A lot of those voices are bottoming out much higher than you kind of think they do.
Yes.
Because you have the people who can kind of, who do it, and you can see it like, on their website or on their resume of, you know, B, what is that, like a 4?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like B4.
Yeah, because it would be right before, if you're talking about
it's above
the high.
B4.
Yeah. It is that it's a conversation that has to happen of like, okay, yes, it's there. Is it there? Is it vibrating? Is it comfortable?
Well, it goes back into leaning into your strengths.
Yeah.
Right? And I say this all the time, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I can probably sing alphaba. I can probably figure it out. I have the range for it, but should I? At least not, you know, night after night after night after night. Yeah, it's but the funny thing is E's are actually easier for me than like B's and C's.
Oh yeah, once you get into mix.
Yeah, then it's
over.
Once it enters up there, like that. And that's that's a thing again with singing, you learn as a writer is like, you know, and the same thing with like for a lot of kind of baritone voices of like the F.
Yeah.
F's are weird and E's are kind of weird.
But once you get over that.
Yeah, once you get over that, it's a whole other world. And I think it's again these things that like I urge anyone here who writes music to be sung for voices that are not your own. Be really cognizant of these things and think about it. Because again, it's a collaboration.
Yeah.
And I cringe when I see writers in any medium give stuff to singers that are like, do that. It is this, do that. And it's like, I guess if you're crotchety and boring.
So, okay, now I have a question for you as far as like the writing goes then. If you are like, because when you're writing musical theater, you're writing for different people, like different roles, unless it's like a one-man show, but usually it's probably not, right? So you're writing for different people, different voices, and you have one kind of voice. So do you ever bring in, like, if you have like, I'm kind of like going with this kind of thing, I don't have that kind of voice, let me bring in a singer friend that has that kind of voice to see how does it feel? Do you do that?
Yes, all the time.
Okay.
And that's another, again, perk and bonus that I feel very grateful for, to get to work in this theater industry at a point and at a level where I have a lot of incredibly talented friends that I can call who are willing to, like, for coffee or lunch.
Yeah.
But I have people, I have a friend named Kiki Lemieux, who we also went to school with.
We love Kiki.
We love you. Who just has that kind of big bombastic voice, and the E's are clear as on a clear day you can see forever, and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I've, like, had her sing something for me in a room, or go in and record on her phone a voice memo of something, and I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, so if I want to do this, and same thing of, like, I kind of have a mental database in my head where I'm like, oh, if I need like a more classically oriented baritone, and I want to, which my voice is this very thin kind of mix dominant thing, and very falsetto heavy.
Okay.
Just, I grew up listening to, like, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, so I think that whole world of placement just made a lot of sense to my brain.
Yeah.
So for anything that needs some hoofda to it, it is, you know, calling people and collaborating with people. And again, because, like, they know, and I also know that, you know, and it is that line between taking that feedback and making it generally accessible versus like knowing what is a trick of one person's voice.
Yes.
Of, like, okay, Emily Tallman can wail up there, wail up there, wail up there.
Yeah.
Like, what did I make you sing? A G one time?
I think it could have been a G. I wasn't keeping track. It was undergrad.
Yeah, we didn't look. I think it was one of those more so we just didn't look at what it was.
And then you gave that to me, and I was like, but what if I keep going?
Oh my God.
So again, you write stuff like that Emily's singing.
And then other people auditioned for it.
Yeah, that was a big lesson for me. That was a big lesson for me. Was I worked with Emily Tallman, who has this, you know, incredible versatile instrument. And then a lot of other very incredible versatilely instrumented people did it too, but it was just one of those things where, again, comfortability.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if we're having singers audition for this part, and Emily's the only one in this key who, like, feels joy in their heart doing it,
Yes.
let's just bring it down.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to make it more, and then, you know, whatever, and then I think with people we've cast in future concerts or productions of that song, we've gone in and added more opt-ups or more, because it's kind of this big belty song and is designed to be of, like, or raise the key back. I think for the full production we raised it back.
Really?
But yeah.
Oh, cool.
But for, like, kind of general auditions, callbacks, all those things, I was like, this is not worth paying people. And it is, and it helps too that, like, I've done 8 shows a week as well, very briefly in my tenure, but I have, and so I understand too the vocal demands of that. And I think you see a lot of these scores that sound really pretty and are really cool, and then you can find, like, one person who can do it, and, like, yes, write for singular talent. I forget who said that, but one of the old musical theater masters said that. It's like, yes, but there's a certain universality. You know, I've been listening a lot to music coming from the West End, like London's version of Broadway, and the vocal demands are just different, and are it's less about that, and it is about storytelling. It is about acting.
So less about singing with a capital S?
Yes, we talked about singing with a capital S.
We're entering the conversation.
Yes.
Not all musicals require singing with a capital S. In my humble opinion, I'm just a boy. And it just is, you know, interesting. Things tend to run a little longer out there. For various reasons. There's a lot of national funding things over there that are different here. And
Well, so because I'm much more in the pop contemporary world than in the musical theater world.
Yeah.
And so I see parallels here to the contemporary world where, you know, like, you know, the power ballads, like 2000, 2010, like, you know, that kind of, like, era with like, Celine Dion and Whitney Houston and then also, like, Beyonce and Demi Lovato, like, just always up here, always like singing with a capital S, right? And then insert Billie Eilish, right? And then once she came around, she was, like, the first, like, mainstream artist where it's like that stuff is like not even in one note in a song, like completely eliminated.
Yeah.
And now it's much more all over the place. You still have the demis, right? And you still have the waily songs, but you also have just comfortable songs too. But no, for Demi, obviously, like this is her sweet spot. Like this is what she does well.
Yeah.
Well, and it's again what makes them special.
Exactly.
Versus what makes other people special.
But for a while there, I feel like, you know, the stuff that you heard on the radio was just all big and hard to sing, right?
Yes.
You saw that too in the like 70s and 80s with like the rock tenor
era
with like the Journey and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Where there just happened to be a lot of singers at the time who had that kind of wail place really locked 100%. In.
And they were doing a lot of things that made them not feel anything.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?
Joy, general joy.
Just joy and
just joy, laughter, and frolicking.
And it's again, you know, what's also interesting about that is musical theater historically has followed the contemporary music of the day. Mm-hmm. And it used to be, you know, Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah.
They were operettas, but still like were the hit tunes of the day, and same with like The Sound of Music and The King and I in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. So there were these parallels, and I think that still exists to this day. And I think we're currently in an era of musical theater, mayhaps, where we're in our Celine Dion era.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And you're gonna follow to the Billie Eilish era, maybe. Like,
I think
not that you're gonna like that musical theater is gonna be like breathy singing.
Yeah,
like,
but we're getting.
It can be. That'd be cool as heck.
Why not? I'm for it.
I mean, I know a lot of people who talk breathy, so why aren't they singing that way?
Interesting. Well, see, here, like, I feel like I've heard this a lot recently from people in the musical theater world, how, like, they audition with pop and rock songs.
Yes.
They don't even bring musical theater songs anymore, because that's where Broadway's at right now.
Yeah.
It's, like, just sounding contemporary as much as possible.
Yeah, well, I think that has to do with this interesting idea of, kind of like I was just saying, of like musical theater used to be the popular music of the day, and it is not.
Yeah.
And I think it wants to be again, of course. You know, you want to make art that touches the most amount of people. And I think for those who are not musical theater lovers, there can be something kind of cringy about musical theater, especially more dated musical theater. Because there's always more rules to it, technically. Hypothetically, there were more rules of like, you have to have your I Want song here, and it does this, and, you know, I want to be where the people are. And like perfect rhyme was the only thing to do in all musical theater writing. And if you didn't rhyme perfectly, you're dead.
Not a good writer.
And, you know, and it was still like, you know, and then we will sing with our vibrato and our raised soft palates, and it'll all... exactly.
Okay, Mr. Snow.
Come on. You know what I mean? Like, and there was a long time where that was still the expectation in the, you know, 90s and 80s, like all that time. And I think now musical theater really wants to catch up.
Yeah.
So I think it's about finding that line of what is, you know, adding contemporary musical vernacular as a singer into what you're doing. There's also a lot of shows now that are like really fun concerts, and it's like just sing with a capital S and do your thing. And you know, I think of Six, and
you go to Six, and I'm not looking for heartfelt acting. I mean, it's there, it's in it.
Did you know your student Prena King, her sister's in Six?
No.
On Broadway. She's the one on all the posters.
Why have we never talked about this?
Yeah.
Get to know your students, Emily. Gosh.
We talk about so much.
Yeah. Oh, I've known
Prena
for 3 years, and I didn't know that about her till way later.
I'm gonna send her an email. Like, what the F?
On our new podcast, Getting to Know Emily's Students.
Yes. More
coming in 3 weeks.
Coming in 3 weeks. You know, and I think that's something that makes musical theater as a singing forum really interesting is, you know, you have those shows where it's like Six, and it's like you are going to sing with a capital S, and you will boots the house down.
You will boots the house down.
You must boots the house down.
You know, like some of my favorite musicals are like Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
You know, like where they just
have a great time.
You just vibe.
Yeah, they vibe.
And it's like, and I think it's knowing when you're vibing, or when you're doing, you know, something with perhaps a bit more heft to it.
Yeah.
I think something or a score that did a really interesting job of that was The Notebook. That was on Broadway last year. Does that really well. shout out The Notebook. On our next podcast, the Notebook Review podcast, I need to stop doing that bit. I pushed it too far. I pushed it too far.
Spencer.
But and it's something you have to be mindful of as a musical theater singer. That I think a lot of pop music singers, it can be a lot more isolated because it's kind of song by song. Like, what is the story of this song? Where for musical theater, there's a lot of, I mean, of course, albums have stories.
Yeah.
Of course. But with musical theater, it's like, what is the singing vernacular of this show in a variety that in one show can have multiple genres, stylistic tones, and all those things. And it's about knowing, I keep saying this, but it's about knowing what makes you special, which is kind of a kinder way of saying know what you're good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's also like, if you don't sing with a capital S, cool. Find the other shows that do the other things, and I truly believe those shows are coming up to us. The not singing with a capital S is kind of like you said.
Again, the Billie Eilish era is coming.
The Billie Eilish era is coming, and if you sing with a capital S, do it.
Go beyond
and
wicked.
Be really well. No, and it's like do it because like. I think less people do it really well than we all like to hope. Comfortably, again, is the key word in all of this. And at a professional 8-show-a-week level is also a major kind of defining line here.
Yes.
And it is, because the human voice, we've seen friends get vocal injuries or all the things, and it's very, have you had a vocal injury?
Yeah. It happens. That's why I'm saying like comfortably. Like that's very important.
Yeah. No, it's the most important thing. Like it is the most important thing that I think, again, musical theater can have a different amount of importance than say like I even look at like Chapel Roan sings "Good Luck Babe" down a whole step now, I think.
Like whenever a lot of keys are changed on her tour.
And that's okay because that's the expectation of the medium. Musical theater has a little bit different of a key change
situation,
and different keys have different emotional sounds, as we all know, and or all like to tell ourselves in music theory classes. So the comfortability is such a key part of it, and being really honest with yourself, and because like something that you can do really well in your voice lesson with one of these two wonderful people is great, and then how is it going to be at a 10 a.m. rehearsal when press is here?
Yeah. I think for us at VoxTape Studios, we really try and find the balance between what are you already good at and what do we need to continue working on some more. So that way you can continue expanding your skill set, but the majority of what you're gonna be doing in your life, if you go the professional route, at least that is, you will be hopefully in your comfort zone more.
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
And I think that's the joy of doing regular voice lessons.
Totally.
even when you are working professionally at singing or in one of these theater programs like we did and all that kind of stuff, is like know what you're really good at and then enjoy the growing at what you're not.
That
like
beautifully said.
That's the thing is know what you're really good at and be proud of that. And then know where you can grow and grow knowing that it might be what other people do really well who again can't do what you do really well. It's all
See, what I struggled with growing up was I only listened to like Beyonce and Christina Aguilera and big voices and high up big voices. And that's just what I always wanted to do. But that's not where my voice naturally sits. My voice naturally sits a lot lower. You can even hear it in my speaking voice. Right? And so I forced my voice to be something because that's what I wanted it to be. And it's so hard, especially for younger singers, to be like, hey, I promise you, what you do doesn't matter. It's how you do it that matters. But that's why I'm so thankful for people like Billie Eilish who kind of like paved the way for like, hey, there's other stuff out here too. And it is just as valuable and it's not less than, you don't have to be belting E's or B naturals or whatever, right? Like it's okay, you can do whatever. It's what you do doesn't matter. How you do it is what matters. And I feel like I was just growing up right in that time where it's just all belty, and that's what I wanted to do, and I forced my voice to do it, and that didn't quite work out, which is why I had a vocal injury at one point, right?
Yeah.
And so, when I finally realized that you don't have to belt, like really high all the time, or sing really high all the time in general. Like, oh my gosh, like there was so much freedom that came with that. And I started sounding so much better because I was doing what was right for my voice. Again, I could do it. I can sing Beyonce and I can sing Christina Aguilera. But just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, and like, you know, it can be fun to do every now and then.
Yeah.
Oh, you can
spice
totally
it up.
do it for
Of course.
fun. You can do whatever you want all the time. That's, I mean,
You have free will.
You have free will.
Yes. Oh
You
my God.
watching have free will.
You watching. Yeah.
And it's true because, you know, vocal pyrotechnics are always really exciting.
They're
Yes.
so fun.
They're so fun to
The great
do.
riff debate.
Oh, not the great riff
The
debate.
great riff debate. Riffing in musical theater. But we'll stay on your thing for a sec.
No, I was done.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying. So like that pressure is very
Yes.
real. But what's also true that I think sometimes in musical theater people don't want to admit is like those cast albums have a lot of times the same amount of vocal processing
Yes.
as these pop albums.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been a few albums that have come out in the musical theater world within the last 3 years or so where the melodyne is as clear as day. Sometimes questionably clear as day.
In case
of
you
like,
don't know what melodyne is, it's same as autotune. Not the same, but similar.
Very
It
similar.
corrects pitch
yeah,
and other things.
It's a software where you can go in and it'll like on a graph kind of tell you what note the voice is on, and you just
move it around.
and there's compression and there's all these things, and it's I think it doesn't help the vocal expectation in theater problem because we want to believe that is what the singer sounds like all the time, and not that they sound terrible on
but they sound human all the time.
Yeah, they sound like a human person, and again, I think in that urge for musical theater to kind of catch up with the pop world, it is that like, oh,
we're gonna correct it.
yeah, we'll make it sound really clean. And I think that's cool, and it can sound really cool. But I think especially to young singers who, again, we try to sing what we listen to all the time, and I think just knowing as well, musical theater is unique because you can also sing it differently if you want. You know what I mean? Like I think of like Ellery Ward has been kind of remixing a lot of Sondheim musical songs into like a folk aesthetic and changing the key and the melodies and things like that to fit that aesthetic, and you can make that kind of artistry in your own way. Wicked will always, in the Broadway production that will outlive humanity, will always have those requirements of what they need that to be.
That's fine.
Once those rights come out, do your own production.
Once is an interesting word to use there.
Oh, if the rights are ever released,
if they let the youth of America
within the legal requirements that you are able to change material for musical theater music, explore your own options. And the great riffing debate.
The great riffing
Are we about
debate.
to
I think
get into it?
I think we should.
Clip that. Don't riff. Clip that.
Diva.
Me?
Yeah.
No. Here's okay. What do you think about musical theater riffing? What do you think about musical theater riffing?
Oh, I'm not in the musical theater world, so I can't really say
Okay, is
much.
this gonna be Emily and I's?
Yes.
Okay, here
Musical
we go.
theater riffing. It kind of goes into all riffing. Okay, it can sound awesome, kind of like no matter what. If your agility is moving, if riffing in general is not emotionally driven, why are you doing it? Why,
if it is not, why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
I think we can break down even to the point of why is this note an eighth note instead of a whole note? And on a B instead of a, we can break anything down to that level of why, let's justify it. Let's make it make sense. But especially with riffing, when you're adding something that is outside the range of speech, roughly, why are you doing it? I don't think that that means that it's unnecessary or doesn't make sense or isn't beautiful and doesn't add. But I think you should know why you're doing it if you're going to do it.
So would you consider that that part like in the...
See, but it's justified. It's a battle cry.
It's a battle cry.
Right? Or at least Cynthia Erivo's version is a battle cry. Mm-hmm. So it's justified in the, context of the show.
I believe, I haven't looked at that sheet music in a second too. I believe there's a riff written in. Not that exact one, but there's a melisma written in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with the riff debate, are we talking all riffs ever in musical theater, or are we talking about unwritten?
Unwritten.
Okay, that's also a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's a big fun fact for those not in the musical theater world. A lot of times, riffs will be written into the sheet music for a score, and it looks really funny because it's trying to like... Because a lot of times musical theater music is being written by not the person who's performing it, there's a different expectation from pop music where a lot of times pop music singers are creating the music, or contemporary music singers, I should say, are creating the music with the writer or writing it themselves. So there's a lot more freedom to kind of do whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're making it. So if you want to go like, instead of, or whatever.
Yeah.
You can, because who's going to stop you?
Yeah.
And there's because the music is written by separate entities, in some cases many years before you are singing it, there's somewhat of a different expectation and a debate in the world of musical theater as to when you are servicing a song, servicing a moment, or servicing yourself. And I don't mean that selfishly. I've written songs where notes go like and it's like stepped up like that, and people have gone like use that to like walk up, and that I'm like, just do that.
Sure.
Like if that's like easier to hit, what I mean? There's like vocal technique requirement things that are like beautiful, and I'm like, slay. But
where do you sit?
I sit in this. I think it depends on the circumstance.
Yeah, of course.
That you are doing the singing in.
Boring answer.
But I also here's my thing. Okay.
I would say, after just saying that,
I would say my harsh take that I don't 100% agree with was that in the context of musical theater, when you riff a bunch or do vocal trills or all those things that are not written in the music, you are commandeering the song from the writer. And you're basically saying, oh, it should have been this. Should have been that. I don't think that's purposefully what's happening.
Yeah.
But there's, especially because people do write in riffs, and I've written sheet music where there's a note at the top that's like, start riffing.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. Be free. You know what I mean?
Cool.
And like encourage those moments.
Yeah.
But and a lot of times these are situations of like little licks, little trills, little melismas at the ends of phrase, getting into phrases. And I think, or, opting up and down and changing, doing melodic variation. I think a lot of times that can read, for me as someone who has written musical theater, this has never happened with music, like material I've been presenting, but when I'm like watching something and I'm like, oh, they're doing all these melodic variations, whatever have you, it can feel as though you're trying to commandeer the song and take it over from the moment, from what it was written to be. Because again, like you said, we could have an hour conversation of why this note's a B and not a C and not a flat and all the, you know what I mean? Like we could get into that. Like decisions are made when songs are written and purposefully decisions are written. So I think sometimes in certain contexts, yes, it can read more like it's more important to show that you can do it than to be in the moment of the song and the story.
Exactly. It totally goes back to like justifying.
Yeah.
Justifying. In the context of the show. Like, why are you...
And also, like, if you're in a cabaret, do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's...
You know what I mean? Like, context is also... Like, if you're in your shower...
Do whatever.
You're allowed to riff in your shower. That is a VoxTape Studios official stance.
Yes, riff in the shower, baby.
You're encouraged.
I don't work for this company. But yeah, I think, And I think, again, that comes with a lot of people now are listening to more pop music, where those freedoms and those trills and those melismas are really common. And they're fun to do.
They're
so fun to do. Good.
And, not but, and we also don't want to overdo it because it's like with vibrato too. If there's vibrato everywhere all the time, it like takes away the special thing. If there's a riff everywhere all the time, it takes away each special moment, that you created. It just becomes too normalized. Like I'm talking about like within a song, right? But like if you're a riffer, like go and do your thing. But yeah, like it's always like, it's like you can put too much frosting on a cake.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some people love a lot of frosting on a cake. Some people love like more like that naked cake where it's like barely any frosting on it, right? And so do what you love, but also be mindful of like there's absolutely such a thing as too much.
Singer artist.
Yeah.
Are you being artistic with your choices?
Are you just trying to show off?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I would also say like if you're a riffer, do the riff.
Oh my God.
I work with singers so many times who like I can tell are riffers and really want to try something.
Yeah.
And are like not singing it when we're running it, like not riffing it when we're running it, and then like, oh, let's take a 5, and like I'll walk past the restroom and I'll hear them be like trying something. I'm like, we can just try that. Like it's not like all that goes out the window when you're creating new musical theater with someone. But I think, especially when you're trying to showcase your talent in a way to become part of a production or a something on a paid level, I think being cautious of that.
Yeah.
And know what the show is and know the difference between riffs and changing the melody. I think is more so my stance. I don't know if I can give a definition of the difference, but that thought just came to me.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, it's funny because 10 years ago when I was in musical theater school, they pretty much told us, like, don't change anything. Like, sing what's written on the piece of paper unless they ask you to change it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just sing what's written. But also, that was 10 years ago.
Well, and that's also, like, so true for Carousel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so true for Carousel.
That's so true for Carousel. But how true is it for Mean Girls? And that's
Mean Girls wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah. But like that's exactly like, I think that it's so like some shows, it's very important to, it's really on the page. I mean, it's all on the page for a reason, but like what is on the page is there. Like when we were talking about Sondheim, don't just do what you think those chromatics are. It intentionally mimics mimic is maybe isn't the right word, but it intentionally follows the pattern of speech in a very intentional way to represent this one thing. So if you don't feel like learning it and you go, part of me is everyone there because everybody's there, like then you lose it.
Yeah.
You lose the
and
energy.
or similarly with that, if you then make it to singing with a capital S, and you kind of break
part of
that.
Me is everybody there because everybody's there.
you're then not using the speech like chromatic movement there to the best advantage for yourself or the song.
Yeah, I can get behind your side.
Oh my gosh, I've done it.
We were on the same side at the beginning.
Mom, I did it.
The end.
Yeah, I mean, it's also subjective, and again, like all things in the artistic world.
Art. Exactly.
But I think it's important to have an opinion.
Yeah.
I think have an opinion and have thoughts artistically is more important.
But also be willing to listen to other people's opinions.
Yes.
And be open to changing your opinion based on new information that has been presented. Like, because sometimes I feel like as humans, we're very much like, this is my opinion, and no matter what you do, I'm not going to change it. It's like, why?
Yeah, and that just isn't fun, too.
No.
Because you're like, okay, so I guess we can't talk about anything ever.
Yeah.
But it is, and I think that's another thing that I've learned through doing the singing, the acting, to performing, into writing, is like just having an artistic opinion does like 80% of the work for you. Because it's like, even if, and that's like for your own work and for other work and being able to have those, like I remember we'd be in voice lessons, not together, but with our same teacher freshman year, and I'd be like, I'd sing through something and she'd be like, how'd that feel for you? Yada, yada, yada. And I'd be like, I don't know, but I know I didn't like it. And
that's where you start.
Yeah. And not in like a self-deprecating way.
No,
you know what I mean? But just like, I can't quite yet pinpoint where I'm feeling all the things, but like I was not content with the sound of that. So we'll keep pressing forward.
It all kind of reminds me of in grad school. I was in a class, we were of course learning how to teach, and we were working through things, and like, this exercise will help this thing, and this is how this works, XYZ. And then at the end of the phrase, my professor said, and also never stop questioning everything because the science keeps changing and everything keeps changing and we keep learning new things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, these are the facts.
For now.
Yeah, for now. But never stop questioning it. Never stop. So it goes into this, it goes into all of the, you know, what's objective, what's subjective.
Yeah.
In when it comes to being in the industry or something, you know, like never stop questioning what's going on, but also understand what's stylistically appropriate. Like, you know, but also question, what does that mean?
Well, and I think it's also having a deep understanding of what's come before.
Yes. Yep.
You know, whether that be pop music history, musical theater history, theater history, orchestral history, whatever your thing is, know the history of it very well.
Yes.
I need to do a better job at that.
Well, I think we all can. And I think we all can. I think to see how much stuff has changed.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can look at, like you were saying, like the 2010s into then Billie Eilish of, like, that's what was going to sell records in that time.
Yeah.
Were these big voices belting their faces off.
Well, but also there was gatekeeping. Now there's no more gatekeeping because labels are not necessary anymore.
Yeah, you can just
That is also very true.
Right.
And who thought that would have happened too?
Yeah.
Like in a bajillion years ago,
Yeah.
you know, during any time in American music history, who would have thought the record company would be no more? And you can just put out your own stuff.
You can just do whatever. And then you could post it on a little thing on your phone that will share to like millions and millions of people.
Basically the world. Except for Apple Music users.
Exactly. I'm not an Apple Music user.
Are you an Apple Music
No,
user?
I'm not.
I'm not either.
I love Spotify.
Okay.
Did they sponsor you yet?
No. Spotify, sponsor us.
This podcast is brought to you. If I say it is, then maybe they'll just give money to the podcast. They'll be like, I guess so. I don't know. But yeah, you know, and I think knowing where your artistry comes from also allows you to bend it more.
Yeah.
Because you also learn that everything is so moldable and flappable, and
you learn the rules to break them.
Yeah.
That's a cool word.
Flappable.
I think it's either a real world word or I made it up. We'll roll with either one.
I love it.
Listen, add a suffix to anything. It's a word.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that's a rule.
That's a rule.
You know, we used to think electric guitars were gonna, you know, we're never gonna be in popular music.
Yeah.
And now look at where we are. And if you know that, then you also know, okay, if I want to bring the cigar box guitar back into popularity, I know it has been before and that these can be transitional times. And or if, you know, I want to bring back that Joni Mitchell soprano thing vocally, I've seen I know what it's done before. I know the history of it so well that then I'm able to make it my own.
Yeah.
You know, it's again, the thing I say all the time is like, how are you an artist more so than your art form?
Okay.
And it's something that I think I thought a lot about when we were in undergrad together, when I was kind of stopping performing, was like, I don't want to be an actor. I want to be a theater artist. As kind of pretentious as that sounds, of like, I want to be a lover of this medium and this art form.
Yeah.
And it's like that thing of, you know, are you able to go see a musical and look beyond what part you want to play or what song you want to steal and put in your book or work in voice lessons? And can you isolate your involvement, hypothetical or literal, with this piece? Can you separate that and just take it in for what it is?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times these younger artists, I say younger, I'm 25, but, you know,
these 24-year-olds out here.
These friggin' 24-year-olds, get off my lawn.
That's crazy.
But I think, you know, and I think people of all ages can sometimes struggle to look outside themselves of their craft and their joy. And you have to love it beyond that. You know, you have to love it if it only makes you enough money for a can of soup. You know, because I think if it's too much about your involvement in it, I'm a person who questions how much that is love of the thing, or how much that love is genuine if it feels to me sometimes more love of self and love of self-involvement versus like love of the form.
Which probably also gets into identity of like, who am I without this thing?
Yeah.
You know, like I think when it starts transitioning into that like love of self-involvement, it's this pressure of like, well, I have to be a part of this because I am an actor.
Yes.
And I have to be because I am. And if I'm not an actor, then I have no idea what's going on. So I am an actor and I have to be doing this. And I am a soprano, so I have to sing this song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glitter and Be Gay has to be run today.
It has to.
But that was the issue that I ran into with my vocal injury when I couldn't sing anymore. My entire life, I was a singer. Yeah. And that's my entire identity. Yeah. And then it was stripped away from me for a couple weeks. And I was like, no fun. But then you find other things outside of that make you who you are. You're not just one thing. That was big for me, realizing that.
Yeah. In the sense of like being a person too. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's huge.
Yeah.
I had to learn that.
I had to
real
learn
good.
that hard too. I've talked about me being like, does anyone need help with the homework? Like I needing to be needed and being like, oh, I can just, walk around sometimes. I can just look at some trees. I can chill out.
Yeah.
Like I can exist for myself and that's okay. And that is it. And that doesn't mean that other things don't fulfill me, but it needs to be coming from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then that also helps fuel your artistry because now you know yourself better. I know myself so much more now than I did when I was 22, trying to be what I thought the agents wanted from me.
Yes.
Even if I was convincing myself that I wasn't doing that.
Sure.
Like doing music outside of that, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to market myself as someone who can do everything instead of an actual human being.
Yeah.
Like someone who can provide such a cool service for you. It's so, oh my God, I can do everything.
Yeah.
Like, moving past that. And now I live such a happier existence because I can be like, I'm gonna go for projects that I care about, and I'm gonna spend other time teaching and filling my cup up that way, and I'm gonna spend other time reading so much, and now I'm gonna start writing things, and I think I'm interested in comedy writing, and it opens up all those avenues of like, I know who I am, so I don't need to be this one thing.
Yeah.
And it's a daily struggle of like, but I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes.
And it's also like you just said, though, in that time you found other artistic avenues that you hadn't thought of before. And it's like, again, that separating yourself from the thing allows you to view all art in such a different way of like, listen to a type of music you don't usually listen to.
Yeah.
Listen to Wagner. I don't know. I'm going to sound so pretentious this whole podcast. But like,
we should clip it.
Listen to Wagner. There's your isolated clip version. Oh, God. But yeah, you know what I mean? It is... Being a person is the main descriptor of an artist. You know what I mean? Like, is a person who blank.
Well, so, okay, this is where this question comes in.
Yeah.
Because the show is called From Singer to Artist.
Yes.
Which is usually the question that I like to ask all of our guests at the end of an episode. What to you is the difference between a singer and an artist, if there is a difference, in your opinion?
I think there is for me.
Okay.
And I think the primary difference is kind of exactly what we've been talking about, where a singer is a person who loves to sing and might be very good at singing, maybe is less so, but like that is something they love to do, and it is a part of who they are as a person. For me, an artist will take their skill at singing or their love for singing and find a way to create something for the greater public for that. Whether that be your friend, your town pub, millions of people on Spotify, a Broadway theater, whatever have you. You want to take the thing that you are very good at and that you love and apply it to make the world a better place. Versus just the singular, like, I like to sing and I will sing and...
Make the world a better place.
There you go.
Try your best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a daunting task to lay before yourself, but the trying is really good.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I feel like that's a beautiful way to end this. Not that I want to, but I feel like we could keep going on for like 3 more hours.
Just keep riffing.
But just keep riffing. There you go.
Riffing.
But that's beautiful. Make the world a better place. Oh, I love that. Thank you. I think the big theme here was knowing your strengths and collaboration, and like working with each other to showcase each other's strengths, and honoring the artists, like the writers, and you know, with the whole riffing debate.
Well, and that's part of the collaboration is trust what they did as well, and they'll trust you to add to it. And
even if you're not in the room with them, even if they came before you, and now you're doing their
you're still
thing.
collaborating.
You're still collaborating. Ooh, that's a good way to look at that. I like that. I like that a lot. Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
So can you please let us all know where we can find your stuff so we can keep up with your musicals that you're writing, your shows, all of the above?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Spencer J. Lynn, spelled Lynn. On YouTube, I'm Spencer Lynn, and I have a lot of stuff on YouTube. If you in general search me on YouTube, a lot of my songs come up either from my account or other accounts.
Very cool.
And if I said something that you enjoyed or didn't enjoy, I love talking about art and all things. So reach out to me. I love to chat.
Amazing. Yeah. I'll be sure to include the links too so they can find you easily
on
cool. YouTube and Instagram. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yes. Awesome. Great conversation.
I hope so. Yeah. I was so nervous.
Great.
You were phenomenal.
I did not translate.
Oh, thank goodness.
No, not at all.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
And thanks everybody for watching and listening. We'll catch you in the next one.
Woo.
Bye.